There has been a lot of controversy lately surrounding the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham recently made national news when she said that young women shouldn't have to compete against males on their sports teams. Now, 2 NBA players have declared for the WNBA 2027 draft. I'm Emma Dayton with the Daily Signal, and we're on the streets of DC asking people if it's okay for men who identify as women to play on women's sports teams and whether they would sign a petition to make it happen. Yeah, so there's been a lot of controversy lately about what's going on in the WNBA, and Sophie Cunningham spoke out and she said that males who identify as female shouldn't be allowed to compete in the league. What is your opinion? Do you think men who identify as women should be allowed to compete?
I don't think they should be able to compete. I mean, after all, it is a competition, and it has to be at least somewhat fair. It's going to be hard for others to compete if it's not a fair playing ground,
Honestly, I would say no, because I feel like there's things that men have that are just naturally they're born with that women do not have. So I feel like strength, speed, agility are all things that play into that. And I think it's completely unfair for a man to compete in a women's sports. The reason that it was created was for women to have their own sport, so I don't think it's right for a man to be able to take over that sport in any way.
We're asking people how do they feel about men who identify as women having the opportunity to compete in the WNBA, and if their policies should be inclusive.
I think the policy should be inclusive. For me, I would have no issue with it. I know a lot of people do. I don't think that it's as big a deal as people want to make it out to be. Is my feeling.
We're actually signing a petition today, and we're passing it around. Sure. Would you be open to signing that and saying the WNBA should keep their policies inclusive?
Yeah, happy to. More than happy to, actually.
Thank you.
Does it matter that I don't live in D.C.?
No, that's okay. You can just put where you're from.
Okay.
Because a lot of people who oppose this say that, I guess it would harm women.
Well, when they have proof of that, then they can bring that to me, and I'll evaluate that objectively. Yeah. But I don't. No, I disagree with that. So.
Well, we actually have 2 examples of some men who identify as women and who are competing, and they've announced they're competing in the draft.
Okay.
This is the first one.
Yeah, I heard about him.
You heard about him. What are your thoughts on Royce? Do you think he should be able to compete?
No.
All right, so what are your thoughts about the WNBA's recent controversy and their policies that allow men who identify as women to compete on the women's sports teams?
I don't believe that should be allowable, and I say that because I am a sports mom to a son that played D1 AA football, and I know the strength of my son, and then I also have a daughter, and I just think that I understand that you identify as a woman, but you were born a male, and the strength and the athleticism, it looks different, so I just don't think that it's fair.
Sophie Cunningham recently went viral. She made national headlines when she said that young girls shouldn't have to compete against biological men on their sports teams.
I 120% agree with that. 200% agree with that.
Men need to be with men and women need to be with women. You cannot actually give a person a surgery and say that they're a woman now, or they're a man, or man. That's not right.
So you think the WNBA should just switch their policies to only allow biological women to compete?
Yes.
What would be your thoughts on it? Do you have any thoughts?
I feel the same way.
Well, I think that women should be able to compete in women's sports, and I also think that children shouldn't be subject to sex examinations to have to prove their gender. I also think that when we start vilifying certain groups of people, everybody suffers. Obviously, it's important that competition is fair, but using these edge cases tends to harm a greater group of people, and also basketball's great. Everybody should be able to play basketball. And there should be safe spaces for everybody to do so.
So we're actually going around and signing a petition to get support for men who identify as women, transgender women, to be able to compete in the WNBA. Would you be interested in signing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you can just print your name and then sign it. Here you go. So I just want to give you an example of some of the men and transgender women that this would support. Recently, a former NBA player said he would be announcing for the WNBA draft. This is Royce White. Are you open to him being allowed to compete?
I don't think that Royce White is living as a trans woman and actually is interested in playing women's sports. I think that Royce White is looking to make a name for himself.
So would you still support allowing somebody who identifies as a woman to compete? Like, how should the WNBA differentiate between him?
I mean, does Royce identify as a woman? Does his driver's license say female on it? I don't think so. So I think that's a starting step.
Yeah. Now, the policy is currently if somebody identifies as a woman, they're allowed to play, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So how can somebody better differentiate between him and another man?
Again, that's for the league to figure out.
Okay. What do you think should it be based on biological sex, sex at birth?
Well, I mean, what are you going to do about intersex people who have, differentiating chromosomes beyond XX and XY? Like, there's a lot of gray area here, and I'm not a biologist, and I'm also not a professional basketball player.
So maybe a 6-foot-tall man is allowed to compete if he's living as a woman?
That's not my business.
Do you think men who identify as women should compete in the WNBA, or transgender women should be allowed to compete?
No.
And
No.
why not?
Men are more physically stronger than women, period. For women and men to compete in sport, for women to compete in women's sport, no. They need to stop that.
Yeah. So do you think the WNBA should change their policies to reflect biological sex at birth?
Yes.
Well, there you have it. Most people think biological men shouldn't compete in the WNBA, and especially if you're a 6'10" man like Royce White or Enes Freedom.